And this is Ken Kraetzer for CBSIServices, talking business with another edition of our interview program, talking with experts in the fields of digital marketing, direct response marketing, customer service, banking, insurance. And today we have a chance to talk with Don Shin, who is the president and CEO of North Carolina-based Crosscomm. And Don, good to chat with you today. And how are you guys doing down there?
Weather is good, and I have a little bit of a backyard to get out with. So I guess all things being considered, we're doing okay.
Very good. Well, we've done a couple of interviews, and you've really had a solid career over the last 22 years at Crosscomm, implementing new technology for different applications, for consumers, for businesses. Tell us, if you would, about some of the history of the technology that you've brought to market at Crosscomm.
Sure. So I'm the founder of Crosscomm, and I've been running this company for a little more than 20 years. I got started building websites and web apps for Netscape One. And a few years after that, Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, and we were able to develop and launch one of the first iPhone optimized web apps on day one of the iPhone's launch, and then one of the first native iPhone apps on day one of the iTunes App Store launch. That gave us some open doors and opportunities to be early adopters of Android. And a few years ago, we also took a dive into a lot of emerging technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence and machine learning, Internet of Things, and a few other innovations that are transforming the way we do work and life.
Very good. Now, one of the technology areas you're working now is virtual reality and its offshoot, augmented reality. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about how you see those two capabilities?
Sure. So virtual reality is basically a technology that places the user of that technology in an entirely different world or reality. It basically removes that person's perception of actual reality and puts them in another one. So what a typical virtual reality device looks like is like a headset, like this one here. You put it on, and once I put it on, I can no longer see you. I am seeing myself immersed in a different reality, a computer-generated reality. And that has a tremendous amount of applications even today, especially in the areas of simulation and training. Augmented reality is a close cousin of virtual reality, but instead of removing one's perception of his or her environment around oneself, the user stays in the current environment, but sees a layer of augmented computer-generated content superimposed upon their perception of the world. So an example of that would be, a very popular application of augmented reality is Pokemon Go, where they're using a phone and the camera on the phone to see the world around them, but they're actually looking for computer-generated Pokemon figures within a real-world environment. So that's augmented reality versus virtual reality, two close cousins technologically, but with different use cases and applications.
Very good. Now, where do you see some of the applications for virtual reality, augmented reality in the workplace today for consumers? Certainly a lot of opportunities in education, training, and really just a demonstration of capability to businesses.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that I really believe that simulation and training are the killer apps for virtual reality because of the device's unparalleled capability to emulate a completely different environment for training. So, and I think that's going to have a profound impact for training in every vertical, in every enterprise. We're talking about virtual simulated training of complicated equipment, safety training on a factory floor, personal relations training for the customer service representative, training on how to adhere to compliance and regulation in highly regulated industries. We can simulate any environment in any scenario within virtual reality, and that's what makes it the ultimate training tool for practically any enterprise situation.
Okay, and on a practical basis, for large companies, small companies, where do you see some of the applications? I know we've talked about real estate. We've talked about demonstrating, like at a car show or a boat show, some of the items for sale there. What are some of the other applications that you see?
Yeah, so what's interesting, and we're going to demonstrate some of this in a moment, but with virtual reality, it doesn't have to be a single user experience. You could actually have a community of users all entering the same virtual space together. Very much akin to the way that people will log into an online community or a video game, multiplayer video game. You could have multiple users, could be coworkers, all entering the same workspace, collaborating together, ideating together, discussing concepts and ideas together, wireframing in 3 dimensions together, diagramming together. Those are all possible and become extremely timely and relevant in this age that we're in, this coronavirus age, where we're not at liberty to travel and see each other. Well, maybe we could still have a sense of presence by entering the same virtual space together. That also has implications for how we go about other formally face-to-face communications, like the way we would communicate with clients and customers. So I envision VR being a really powerful tool for sales, for product demos, for pitches. A lot of those things require a high amount of touch, especially when it comes to complex products or expensive products or products that require a large amount of commitment. Virtual reality offers the opportunity to meet with a prospective customer and still walk them through the same talking points around a product, but this time around a virtual product in a virtual environment, collaborating and socializing virtually.
Very good. Now we've got your 2 colleagues, Mike Harris and Yash Bangera, on the line, and like to see if we can bring them into the conversation and see the demo that they've prepared for us.
For sure. What they're about to show as they get set up, they're about to show our VR social showcase platform. And what this platform allows is what I had described earlier, with multiple users, whether they be colleagues or vendors and clients or whoever you want to socialize with, to enter the same virtual world and to be able to interact across physical distances together. Mike is on the West Coast at the moment. Yash is on the East Coast, and yet they're sharing the same virtual space and can have a conversation about common discussion points.
Very good. Now you've got some, you call it an avatar there, a fellow walking through your corporate lobby there. Tell us a little bit about that capability.
Sure. Can you introduce yourself? Why don't you go ahead and...
Yeah, hey, this is Mike.
And
Wow.
seeing my view, I'm Yash.
And we have Yash.
So we're seeing the perspective of the virtual experience from Yash's perspective, and they're now walking together in this virtual space. And by the way, I do apologize that the video feed is not as smooth as it normally is, because we're both doing virtual reality as well as screen sharing at the same time. But I think you all can get the picture. They're walking through our virtual showcase at the moment. And can you imagine if a sales or product representative is trying to do a product demo of something that is too large to physically ship to a user, or so large and expensive that you would want the buyer to have a more intimate experience of the product before they actually make the purchase commitment? So right now, Mike is walking Yash through where to look, and can talk through talking points, explain features of the product, and even potentially not only do a 360-degree walkthrough around the product, but also even go inside the product to experience all the aspects and feature points.
Well, that's terrific. Certainly demonstrating the boat there, the yacht, is a neat example. Look at that, I showed the interior. And when you have one character, an avatar, kind of explaining what's going on, that really is a neat capability.
For sure. And again, sales is just one application for this technology. Pretty much any need for communication that needs to happen with a strong amount of presence, but not able to physically happen due to this virus, can be done in virtual reality. That could be collaboration between coworkers, ideation sessions, conversation, socializing, you name it. You can see here, Mike has picked up a virtual marker and highlighter and is starting to create three-dimensional annotations around the product.
So yeah, so we got another addition to the bridge. Now that's neat because now you said this is obviously good for virtual trade shows, but also you have many capabilities in training, and I've seen a lot of these used on trade show floors to show simulations, and obviously all of the simulations and training situations. I've seen the military use this a lot. And also things like pilot training, probably even driver training would have a big application. What are some of the other practical uses you see for this?
Yeah, so I think about the industry that you folks are involved in, the finance industry. I think that there could be customer service training needs, like training for tellers at banks. I also think that there could be call service center training done in virtual reality, because what we've discovered through initial research is that someone is much more apt to retain the information they learned if they learned it experientially versus just reading a manual or a paper or a document. So if you can get any kind of worker that could benefit from training to do it through an experiential technology like virtual reality, it could actually make training much more cost effective and faster as well.
Very good. Now, you mentioned applications of this virtual reality, augmented reality capability during the coronavirus crisis we're all in the middle of right now. What are some of the applications that you see during this emergency period?
Yeah, so I think that right now you're seeing an explosion of telehealth. Really tell a lot of things, because people still need service, even if they might be sick or even if they're suspected to be sick. And so I think augmented and virtual reality are going to have really strong applications for providing telehealth, as well as remote customer service. And certainly all of my team members and myself, we're all working from home out of our home offices. And we can actually collaborate a lot more quickly and communicate ideas a lot more effectively. Have you ever tried to do screen sharing and help someone out with a computer issue without actually looking at their screen? Well, could you imagine talking about complex subject matters or complex three-dimensional topics? So right here, actually, this is a good example. Right here, we're seeing this mock training session of what to do when you're going through the routine of maintaining a forklift. And so we've got this linear sequential step-by-step sequence. Could have been a PDF or a manual, but right now we've got it in VR where people can actually conduct the actions that they're coached to do with these sequential prompts. Once they do, for instance, looking at the hose of the engine, they can be prompted to do the next step and interact with the model that way. And through practice and rehearsal in a virtual world, as well as observing your previous performance, you can actually achieve mastery virtually without even having to put your hands on an actual forklift if for some reason, due to the virus or due to travel restrictions, you cannot do so at the moment.
Very good. Now, I know you have more information on your website, crosscomm.com. What's the best way for someone to get a feel if they think they have an application?
Real quick, while this is happening, I want to just point out that in the video feed, we actually have a playback recording of the performance of the trainee in interacting with the forklift. And that can also serve as a really profound way to evaluate a trainee's performance and adherence to compliance and regulations, is by being able to not only know if they've sequentially stepped through the steps, but also how much time and attention they've paid to a particular aspect of the product or a particular aspect a particular step within the sequence. All of that can be recorded and then played back in 3 dimensions so that you have an immersive 3-dimensional spatial recording of what happened.
Great job, Yash.
Thanks.
Very
So you were asking, how does someone experience virtual reality and augmented reality today? Well, the easiest way to do that would be through a device that everyone has, which is a smartphone. And with the smartphone, you can experience a very rudimentary form of VR called Google Cardboard. You could buy a cardboard-based, literally a cardboard-based headset from Amazon for less than 10 bucks, insert your phone in there, and then run Google Cardboard VR applications that you could download either from the iTunes App Store or from Google Play. Now, frankly, that's a very poor man's version of virtual reality because you can look around, but you can't actually move anywhere within the virtual space in an organic, natural way. So what I would strongly recommend for people who are interested in learning more is to pick up one of these devices, an Oculus Quest headset. It's completely wireless, completely mobile, untethered, for $400. And you know, we think this is one of the best VR headsets in terms of convenience on the market today. For $400, you can experience not just being able to look around a virtual environment, but actually to be able to walk around a virtual environment as well. I get it that $400, it's a good amount of money, but at the same time, it's a lot cheaper than a lot of smartphones out there. And so it's really made virtual reality fully accessible to the everyday consumer as well as the enterprise.
And I'm really looking forward to getting the augmented reality glasses that
Yes.
will provide all sorts of data and information. Tell our audience about what your vision is on that.
Yeah, so I mentioned that simulation and training are the killer apps for virtual reality, but augmented reality will eventually have a much wider range of applications and use cases than virtual reality. Because even though the phone is the most convenient device to run augmented reality, like maybe running the IKEA app and placing a 3D model of some IKEA furniture within a picture of your own bedroom, that's augmented reality. But we're going to get to a point very soon, within the next 2 to 5 years, where we're going to have wearable, hands-free augmented reality in the form of smart glasses. And once we have augmented reality smart glasses, that's where the computer in your smart glasses or by your belt or wherever is going to be able to really improve the quality of your life by basically serving as your own personal digital assistant or Jarvis. Can you imagine walking in a evening networking mixer once this virus stuff is all behind us? Can you imagine looking in a crowded group of people in a room and have names pop up right above their heads so that you don't have to ask their names, or they get reminders of who they are, as well as the name of the company they work for and their title? Can you imagine if you're single and you actually want to use this augmented reality smart glasses dating app? Can you imagine walking on the streets of New York City and looking for something and having a wayfinding path superimposed and overlaid on top of the road on the sidewalk to tell you where to go in order to get to places? So you don't have to look down on your phone, but you could just continue to walk and continue to live your everyday life, but with the power of your digital assistant. That's going to be the power of smart glasses, hands-free, wearable, augmented reality. And that's something that we believe is going to eventually potentially supplant the smartphone as the primary computing platform of choice, because it could be something that's always on, always with you, and you don't even have to change the focus of your attention and the focus of your glance in order to benefit from it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because you know, you've been a leader in wearable technology, such as smart watches, and I was wondering if the augmented reality glasses would work off your smart watch or work off of your smartphone as a base. How do you see that working?
So right now, I think that there is a good possibility that smart glasses might need to have some kind of connection, whether it be wired or wireless, to your smartphone in order to piggyback off of the smartphone's computing power. Eventually, there could be the possibility that completely untethered standalone smart glasses can operate without any external device, in the same way that our smartwatches now no longer need smartphones in order to fully use them. But there might be a transition period where smart glasses might need to piggyback off the computing power of some kind of other wearable computer, like a smartphone or a belt CPU or a belt computer or whatever.
I have to introduce you to our local eyeglass store. They're pretty innovative on new technology now. Don Shin, President and CEO of North Carolina-based Crosscomm. Do you have a final thought for us today?
I just want to stress that, especially for enterprise, virtual reality and augmented reality are here today, not just tomorrow. There are already enterprise-grade smart glasses for very vertical specific applications, and there's already plenty of uses for virtual reality in simulation and training. No doubt that these technologies will become increasingly accessible for the consumer, but the time to leverage these technologies for improvements in efficiency, improvements in quality, improvements in competitiveness are actually today and not just in some distant future.
Very good. Don Shin from Crosscomm and colleagues Mike Harris and Rush Bangara, thank you very much for this demonstration of your virtual reality capability and descriptions of augmented reality. Certainly a fascinating capability that is finding more and more applications. Good to chat with you today.
Thanks for having us. It was a lot of fun.
Our pleasure. Yeah, this is Ken Kraetzer for CBSIServices Talking Business, representing CBSIServices based in Harrison, New York. 40 years experience providing insurance products to the banking and payments industry. Many programs such as travel benefit programs, warranties, and premium services. And really a great job. I got to shout out to our team in Harrison, our client services managers working with our clients and their customers over the early portion of the COVID-19 crisis, helping them with so many different travel changes and cancellations that came up. Very proud of our team and the work they've done during this period. So again, thank you to Don Shin and his team at Crosscomm, and for CBSIServices. From my home office in White Plains, New York, this is Ken Kraetzer. Stay safe and have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.